Okay, let us start with the prayers. Om Sadashiva Shankaracharya
Madhyama
Asmadacharya
Paryanta
Vande
Vande
Saraswati
Saraswati Namastubhyam
Varade
Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada
Om Sahana
Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Bhavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Vasudeve
Vasudevendra Natva Jnanapradam Mukhamritaya Tattva Bodho Vidhiyate.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah
Om
Shivaya.
Shivaya.
Okay. So, today we will be starting the fifth and final chapter of Tattva Bodha. And if you remember, this was the transition line between the previous chapter and the new chapter. So in this line, evam cha vedanta vakyaihi sadguru upadeshena cha sarveshvapi bhuteshu yesham brahma buddhirutpanna te jivan mukta ityartah. So the line said that the one who is a Jivan Mukta is an enlightened person, the Jnani. So the one who is a Jnani, what does he have? He has Brahma Buddhi. He has the Aham Brahmasmi knowledge. He knows that all of this is Brahman alone, including me, myself. Everything is Brahman, including me. And how did he get this knowledge? Through the scriptures and through the teacher. So through this study of the scriptures with the help of a teacher, he has got this self-knowledge that I am Brahman, everything is Brahman, all the beings, the whole creation is Brahman. And this person who has this knowledge in a firm way, he is called as Jivan Mukta, the liberated one, the enlightened one, the self-realized one. Okay, so this was the line that we stopped at in the last class. And now we will be entering into the fifth chapter. And the fifth chapter, the previous line, it was a kind of an introduction to this fifth chapter. And so now the student asks the question, Nanu Jivan Muktaha Kaha. But what exactly is a Jivan Mukta? Who is a Jivan Mukta? When we say Jivan Mukta, what exactly do we mean? And so the teacher answers. And we can read this line. Yatha dehoham purushoham.
Yatha Devoham Purushoham
Brahmanoham shudroham asmiti.
Brahmanoham Asmiti
Dridhanishchayastatha.
Dridhanishayastha
Naham brahmanaha na shudraha. Na purushaha kintu asangaha. Satchidananda swarupaha. Prakasha rupaha sarvantaryami. Chidakasha ruposmiti. Dridhanishchaya rupaha.
दृढनिश्चयरूपः
अपरोक्ष ज्ञानवान् जीवन मुक्तः
अपरोक्षज्ञानवान् जीवन्मुक्तः
Okay, so now the student has asked a question: what or who exactly is Jivan Mukta? And this is the beginning of the 5th chapter, where first we will discuss the what is a Jivan Mukta, or who exactly is a Jivan Mukta, what is he like, and then we will proceed to the karma portion. The main portion of this chapter is karma, but it starts with the introduction to Jivan Mukta. Now the author says in the text, Yatha dehoham purushoham brahmanoham shudroham. So all these words break over here, and so it becomes dehaha aham, purushaha aham, brahmanaha aham, shudraha aham. So aham means me. So just as how I think that I am the body, I may think I am a human being, or I may think I'm a male or a female. I may think I'm a brahmanaha, a brahmin, or I may think I'm a shudra, or any number of labels and identifications. So this is just a small representative group, but any number of labels we have, right? We think I am this old, I am of this religion, I am of this caste, I am of this nationality, I am of this, profession, I am of this role in society. We have all these labels for ourselves. I am a girl, I am a mother, I am a father, I'm the CEO of a company, I'm a politician, I'm this, I'm that. We have so many things, right? We call ourselves by all these different names. So just as we are firmly convinced, so drida nishchayaha, firm conviction. Drida means strong. Nishchaya means resolve. So a drida nishchaya means a strong resolve, a strong conviction. In what? That I am all these things. I am Purusha, I am body, I am this mind, I have this personality, I have this identification. So just like how we have all these strong identifications with these things, the Jnani, on the other hand, he has a strong identification that I am not these things. Na aham. Na aham is na aham. Naham brahmanaha. I am not a Brahmin, na Shudra. I am not Shudra, na Purushaha. So here Purushaha you can take to mean male or female. So I am not male or female. Why? Because gender belongs to body. And here I am clearly saying I'm not the body at all. So gender is not even an application to me. You cannot apply gender to something that does not have a form at all, right? So na purushaha. There's no gender discrimination, no gender superiority also. And so what remains? But this jnani, he has a strong conviction. Drida nishchayaha. Jnani also has drida nishchayaha. But in the total opposite, that I am not any of these things. What am I? I am Satchidananda Swarupaha. I hope you remember what is Sat, what is Chit, what is Ananda, and what is Satchidananda Swarupa. It is the one of the ways of how we describe what is Brahman. Okay, so this is one of the Vedantic definitions for Brahman, Satchidananda Swarupaha. So I am this Brahman, which is of the nature of Sat, the existence principle, Chit, the consciousness principle, and Ananda, the infinite or the bliss principle. So I am of this nature. I am not body, I'm not bound by form or by this or that. I'm not the labels, I'm not, just a small cog in the society. I'm not any small being. I am in fact Satchidananda Swarupaha, and the Jnani has Drida Nishchaya about this. He has the strong conviction. He has firm resolution that he is Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. And there is a description now, a small comparison given for this Brahman. to help us understand. And this Atma, Brahman, is compared to Prakashaha and Chidakashaha. This is compared to Akashaha and Prakashaha. Prakashaha is light and Akasha is space. So Brahman, the closest example we can find is space and light. There are a lot of similarities between the two, and that is why the author has used this example to help that understanding. And he has also given some of the examples, some representative. Asangaha means not connected. It is there. It is Sarva Antaryami and at the same time Asangaha. Sarva Antaryami means all pervading. It is there everywhere, inherently there. At the same time, it is Asangaha, not connected or not attached to anything. Like space. Space is there everywhere, right? Space supports all of creation. Space supports all existence of all things. But this space is asangaha. It is not attached to any one object. It is, in a way, disconnected. And that is why the word asangaha is used. Not connected, connectionless from all the different objects. But yet it is there everywhere. Just because it is connectionless, we can't say it is not there, because sarvantaryami, it is there everywhere. At the same time, you can't say space is attached to only this one object, and if I move this object, space will move with that object because they are connected. No, it doesn't happen that way, right? Space supports, and yet it is disconnected from everything. So there are some few representative comparisons given between space and light and how they are similar to Atma. So Akashaha and Prakasha, space and light. So first, they are all formless. Atma, space, Prakashaha, light, they are all formless. Nirakaraha. They don't have any form. So space, you cannot say it has a form. Light doesn't have a form, and Brahman or Atma, definitely no form. Then what else? They are divisionless, nirvikalpaha. If I take a knife and decide to cut space into half, can I do it? No, it's an impossible task. Suppose I take a hammer and I decide I want to break light into two. Not possible, right? So space and light are divisionless. They cannot be broken. They cannot be divided. In the same way, Brahman is also like that. You cannot divide Brahman into pieces. You cannot break it. You cannot harm it. You cannot do anything to it. So it is totally nirvikalpaha, without any division whatsoever. Then blemishless, nirmalaha. There can be no polluting of space. There can be no polluting of light, no polluting of Brahman. There might be air pollution, but there is no space pollution. Air is not the same thing as space, right? The air can get polluted, the ground can get polluted, the water can get polluted. But can you pollute space? Space supports all the pollution. The pollution exists in space, but space itself never gets blemished, never gets any kind of malaha, pollution, right? You cannot say space is filthy. The things in space may be filthy, but space itself is never filthy. In the same way, Brahman also can never have any blemish, can never be polluted in any way. The space may have space or light. Light may reveal garbage. But can you say light is dirty? No. Light simply reveals the garbage. It may reveal a flower also, but light remains unaffected. Light remains unpolluted. Same with Brahman. Limitless, nissimaha. There is no boundary to space. If I ask you, show me where space ends. Can you do it? Even the scientists have not yet figured it out, right? Where does space end? What is there beyond space? Can something exist outside space? Because for something to exist, it needs space, right? It needs to occupy some space. It needs to be there in space. But if I tell what is there beyond space, if there is no space beyond space, how can that thing be there? So there is no limit to space. You cannot say space has this much boundary. This much only is space and everything else is not space. It is not a, you cannot say that. It is not a logical thing to say. So in the same way, Brahman, of course, we know is limitless without any boundaries, whether space boundaries or time boundary. There is no boundary at all for Brahman also. And finally, connectionless, Nissangaha. So what we just discussed, that the object may be there in space, but space is not connected to it. Suppose I'm standing in some light and then I walk away into some darkness. Is the light attached to me that the light comes there into the darkness with me? No, the light is there where it is and it is not attached to me. It may reveal everything that is there. It may reveal me when I stand in the light. But when I walk away, the light is not attached to me. It will not follow me in any way, right? It is supporting, but it is not attached, not connected. So in the same way, Brahman also supports all of this, all of creation, but not connected to, not attached to anything. So these are the comparisons that the author has given for space and light. And he has given two of the representations, Asangaha and Sarvantaryami. Asangaha means connectionless, Sarvantaryami means inherent, all pervading. It is there everywhere in all the things. So this Jnani has Dhrida Nishchaya that I am this Brahman who has all these qualities. I am Nissangaha, I am Nirmalaha, Nirvikaraha, and all these things. Nirvikalpaha. I am this Brahman who has all these different things. And so I am not this body or this mind or all these labels. I am not a small being. I am in fact Satchidananda Swarupa Brahman. And this knowledge is called as aparoksha jnanam. So the word here is aparoksha jnanam. So when you break this, be careful. It is aparoksha jnanam. Now, knowledge is of three types. Okay, the first type is called as pratyaksha jnanam. Pratyaksha means what is there in front of me and I get knowledge about that. If I hold this pen, I have knowledge about this pen because I can hold it, I can see it, I can examine it, and it is right in front of me. And so I'm able to examine and get knowledge about this pen. And this is called as pratyaksha jnanam, knowledge about an object that is directly available in front of me. Then there is a second type of knowledge called paroksha jnanam, and that is knowledge about a faraway object, a remote object. Suppose I hear about some volcano somewhere in the ocean. Now, I have not actually seen the volcano or touched the volcano, right? But I get to know about it from some other source. So I see it on the TV or somebody tells me. And that is called as paroksha jnanam, that is knowledge about remote objects. So when we hear about stars and galaxies, nobody has seen these things, but we know because of paroksha jnanam, we find out through other methods, even if it is not directly available. Now, both of these things, pratyaksha and paroksha, are about objects in the world. So it is just a matter of proximity, whether the object is near me or whether the object is little far away. Both of these are objects and I get the knowledge in some way about these objects. It may be near me. If it is near me, it is called pratyaksham. And if it is a remote object far away, we call it paroksha jnanam. Now there is a third type of knowledge called aparoksha jnanam. Aparoksha jnanam is a technical name for Atma Jnanam, self-knowledge. It is the knowledge about the subject, not any object. Because Atma is not another object, right? We cannot objectify Atma. We cannot say Atma is an object that is available for my experience or for my knowledge. It is the very subject. And this is called as aparoksha jnanam. Knowing about this Atma is aparoksha jnanam. So it is a technical word for atma jnanam or self-knowledge. More detailed analysis you will see much later on in different texts, why the name is like this and how to analyze all these things you will see later. But for now, it is enough to understand aparoksha jnanam means self-knowledge. So this jnani has aparoksha jnanam. He is aparoksha jnanavan, one who has atma jnanam. And so he is a jivan muktaha. Now, why do we call him a jivan muktaha? Jivan muktaha means liberated, the liberated one. Mukti means to be liberated. So why call him a liberated one? What is he actually free from? So he is free from
Apurnatvam.
he is free from the bondages of samsara. And what is samsara? All this suffering of life is called as samsara. Okay, so this jnani, he is not bound by all the problems of life. So what are all the daily problems we face? We feel inadequate, we feel insufficient, we feel I don't have enough things, I have to get more things, I have to prove myself, I have to accomplish more things, I have to get something to become happy. Oh, I am scared of that thing, I am angry at something else. All of these are our daily problems, right? Fear, anger, insufficiency, insecurity, unhappiness, sorrow, fear of loss. All these things are there, which everyone faces, all the people face daily. All of this collectively, we can call it as samsara. And this jnani is free from all of that. He has no fear, he is not angry about things of the world, and he is not dependent on objects of the world to make him happy. He is happy by himself because he knows that these things don't really make me happy. So he's not an insecure person. He is secure by himself. So such a person is a jnani who is free from all this insecurity and all these samsaric problems. And he is not concerned by the body also. One big fear that we all have is, oh, the body is aging, the body is falling ill. But we don't say body, we say, I am aging, I am falling ill, I am falling sick. The people around me are dying, all my loved ones are going through pain or they are dying. So there is constant concern, fear about these things, worry, right? Constant worry. But this jnani, he is not worried about all these things, even his own body, because he knows it is the nature of the body to age and to die. It is all a part of life, right? So he is not overly worried about these things. He's not disturbed by whatever happens in the world. And so this jnani is free from the bondages of samsara. Now, in the very first class of Tattva Bodha, I don't know how many of you remember, we had discussed the benefits of moksha. Do you remember? How many were
Yes.
there?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Five.
Five benefits.
Okay, now tell me the names.
Yeah.
The Jignasa Nivritti, Vidyananda Prapti, Karpanya Nivritti.
Daksata prapti. Aghat.
Two more.
And last one?
Dakshata prapti.
Dakshava.
Okay.
Tapti.
So, 5 benefits of this self-knowledge. Jignasa nivrittihi, the satisfaction of the natural curiosity that we all have. We're all curious. Why is this world here? What is the purpose? Why am I here? What happens after death? All these questions are there, right? And we never find satisfactory answers usually. But through this self-knowledge, now that curiosity is satisfied. And any ignorance, not knowing, makes us restless. We want to know, and having known, we find some measure of peace. Then Vidyananda Praptihi, the knowledge that is the happiness that is gained from knowledge. Okay, this is not an object-oriented happiness. This is a knowledge-oriented happiness. From this knowledge, I understand my own nature and I understand that I am of the nature of happiness itself. So Swami Dayananda gives a very nice example of a sugar crystal. He says that if, there's a sugar crystal and the sugar crystal says that I want to be sweet. What are you going to tell the sugar crystal? The sugar crystal is already sweet. Its nature is sweetness, right? There's nothing more you can add to the sugar to make it more sweet. It doesn't need it. It is already sweet. So all of us human beings saying that I need this thing to make me happy is like the sugar crystal saying, I want to be sweet. So we don't require external things to be happy because the nature only is happiness. The nature of all of us, of all of this, is happiness itself. We have simply not discovered this. And so this knowledge reveals to me that my own nature is happiness. And so there is Vidyananda Praptihi, happiness born out of self-knowledge. And it is not an insecure happiness. Every other happiness is insecure happiness. Why? Because when the object comes, I am happy. Suppose the object goes, happiness goes with the object, right? I buy a new car, I am happy. Tomorrow the car gets damaged, I am unhappy. So we cannot depend on that happiness. It is a very insecure, impermanent kind of happiness. But this is a permanent happiness. Why? Because it is my own nature. My own nature never goes away. It is never subdued. It never diminishes in any way. It is like asking, when is the fire not hot? The fire is never not hot. It is always hot. In the same way, my own nature is to be happy and it is never not happy. It is always happiness. Okay. So the second one is Vidyananda Praptihi. Then Karpanya Nivrittihi, freedom from desperation. We experience desperation because we think we have to cling to objects of the world. And we think, okay, these things are coming and going. I have to work hard to cling on to these things and protect these things. But once you realize, once you have understood the nature of those things and your own nature, the clinging, the desperation stops. The dependence on those things stops. Okay. Then there is Aghata Nivrittihi, freedom from shock or trauma. All the events of the world traumatize us. Death traumatizes us. Pain traumatizes us. Disease traumatizes us. And all these things are very much a part of life. And so we keep experiencing these bumps, these shocks, and we keep feeling troubled. We keep feeling tossed around by life. But Aghata Nivritti, once you have this self-knowledge, it is like a shock absorber. It protects you from all the happenings of life. Okay, so there is protection from all this trauma because you have understood the nature of the objects. You have understood your own nature. The objects will keep coming and going. The objects are eternally insecure because they are impermanent. They come and they go. And I am not these objects. I am not this body. I am not anything anatma. I am atma. I am different and distinct from these. I am eternally there and therefore I need not worry about these things. So aghata nivritti, freedom from the shock or trauma of life. And dakshata praptihi, gaining efficiency. Having become such a calm person, undisturbed person, happy person, who is at peace with himself, naturally I become a more efficient person. Everything I do will have efficiency and it will be done in the best possible way. So these are the 5 benefits of Atma Jnanam, to just put them across simplistically to help you understand. Okay, till here, it's clear?
Yes.
Yes, Mother. We were
Yes.
muted.
Okay. Yes, so these benefits are very tempting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the point. That is part of the advertising strategy. Okay. So now let's read this. Brahmaivahamasmiti aparokshajnanena nikhila karma bandha vinirmukta syat. Okay. So Brahma eva aham asmi. That's the breakup. Brahma eva aham asmi. I am indeed Brahman alone. There is only Brahman, there's nothing else. All of this is Brahman alone. This understanding is what? Aparoksha jnanam. This aparoksha jnanam, this self-knowledge, through this self-knowledge of aham brahmasmi, what happens? Karma bandha vinirmuktam. The bondages of karma are broken. And what is nikhila? Nikhila means all, everything. All the bondages of karma, all the karma bandha are removed or broken or eliminated. Vinirmuktaha means free from. So through this self-knowledge alone, Vinirmuktam, I am free from the bondages of karma. So this is one more statement where Jnanat eva kaivalyam is implied. That self-knowledge is the only means for moksha. We cannot do karma yoga to get moksha. Karma yoga is not the means to escape from karma. Karma cannot break karma. Karma only perpetuates further karma. And so what is the means to break from this bond of karma? Jnanam alone. So that is why aparoksha jnanena. Aparoksha jnanena is the only way, self-knowledge is the only way to break out of this bond of karma. Okay. Now the question will come, what is karma? So now we are going to start on the topic of karma. So before we start, any questions till now? Okay. So now we are going to start on the big topic of karma. It's not actually so big, but it's just,
Medhaji,
yes.
can we say this attachment, like you said, Brahman is not attached. So can we say it's not attached to just one body because it's infinite or existing everywhere? Everything is a form of Brahman. So that is why not attached to just his body. But actually body is also a form of Brahman, right?
It is not attached in the sense, the best example is the space and the object. The object, it is supported by space, but it does not disturb space in any way. The object may be the most dirty thing in the world, but can you say that it has dirtied space? No. So in that way, it is not connected, not attached.
But what if we take the example of pot and clay? So pot is made out of clay, so it's always attached with the clay.
It is attached in the sense that, are you saying that there is a separate thing called a pot, which is attached to the clay? Then I will tell you, detach and show me pot, show me clay separately. Not possible. Clay supports the existence of pot.
Correct.
And in
So it
that
supports,
final
but it's not.
analysis, you will see that actually there are no two things called pot and clay.
Correct.
So here, at a basic level, we start with space and the object for understanding. As you resolve the understanding more and more, as you progress and become advanced, you will not be talking about two separate things at all. There is only one thing. And so where is the question of attachment or detachment? But if we must talk about attachment, detachment for our understanding, then I would bring in the planes of the order of reality topic. It's like the dream world and this world, the waking world. So the dream world is supported by you, the waker, right? The dream cannot exist,
Correct.
you are not there. So you as the waker are supporting the dream. But does the dream, is the dream connected to you, or can you say the dream disturbs your waking world? Does the
Not
dream change or alter anything in the waking world?
sometimes you have fear or sweat or something carry on forward, but generally not.
No. Suppose you make a lot of money in the dream. Are you rich when you wake up?
No.
No, it does not change anything in this waking world. Why? Because there are two different orders of reality. The dream is an inferior order of reality.
Correct.
Okay, so in the same way,
Yes.
that's why they are connectionless, because the inferior order of reality cannot disturb the superior order of reality. And Brahman is the most superior order of reality. It cannot be disturbed by anything at all.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to start the topic of karma. So the word karma means action. The most general meaning is action. So whenever you do something, that is an action. And whenever you do something, you do an action, what happens? There is a result of that action, some consequence of that action. Suppose I'm holding a glass of water and then I release the glass. So what is the action in this case?
Releasing the glass.
Releasing the glass is the action. And what is the consequence of that action?
The glass might break, the water would spill.
Yes, the glass will fall down and it might even break. And that is the consequence of this action of releasing the glass. Like this, every action that we do has some kind of a consequence or a reaction. Every action has a reaction, right? So now this action is called karma and the consequence is called karma phalam. Phalam means fruit. So karma phalam means the fruit of the action or the result of that action. It can be positive, it can be negative. Now the karma phalam, the results, we classify them into two types. The first type is called as visible result or drishta phalam. Drishta literally means visible. Phalam means the result. So the visible result is one type. And the second type is the adrishta phalam. Adrishta phalam is the invisible result. So we will look at our famous example of pushing the person on the road. So supposing I'm walking on the road and there's a person in front of me and I push the person and he falls down. What is the karma in this?
Pushing.
Pushing is the karma. And what is the visible result of that?
The person falling.
Falling down.
The person falls down and that is the visible consequence of that action. Now there is also an invisible consequence which we can't see. That's why it's invisible. So we can't see that, but Shastra tells us about it, that there is an adrishta palam, an invisible result of every action. And that invisible result depends on the intention with which we do the action. Okay, so the intention can be anything, right? So suppose I push the person because I don't like him and I want to hurt him. So is that a positive intention or a negative intention?
It's a negative.
It's a negative intention. And so what will the result, the invisible result, consequence of that be? Positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative. Right? So the negative intention leads to a negative invisible consequence. Negative intention will lead to negative result. Suppose the reason I push him is because there's a vehicle behind him and I push him out of the way to save him. Now, intention is what?
It's positive.
Positive. I want to help him. I want to, save him. And so the intention is positive. And therefore, what about the adrishta phalam, the invisible consequence?
Be positive.
Punyam.
It is a positive consequence. So, when you look at the visible result, the drishta phalam, this can also be positive or negative, right? And when you look at adrishta phalam, that can also be positive or it can be negative. Now, there is no direct connection that they have to be same. Just because this is positive doesn't mean this also has to be positive. For example, in the case of the pushing and the falling, the visible result is what? He may fall down, he may get hurt. The visible result is a negative one. But suppose I have pushed him to save him, then the invisible result is a positive one. So just because one is positive or negative doesn't mean that the other one will also be the same. It is not like that. Okay, they can be different. They can be separate from each other. There's no, direct connection like that. So whether visibly something positive happens or something negative happens, it doesn't matter, because for the adrishta phalam, what matters was your intention with which you did the action, which will determine whether it is positive or negative. Okay, so another example. Suppose, there's a doctor and he's doing a surgery and the patient dies during the surgery. Is this positive or negative for the doctor? Okay, visibly it's negative because the person has died, right? Visibly negative, that is obvious. But for the doctor, what is it?
It is
It's
positive
positive.
because his intention was not bad.
Yes.
He was trying to save it.
Yes, they started with an intention to help the person. It so happened incidentally that he died. But the doctor's original intention was not to kill, he wanted to save. And so the invisible result is positive. Okay, now suppose we find out that the doctor was actually drunk when he came for the surgery. Now,
It is negative.
Negative.
because he knows that in this condition he should not be performing a surgery while intoxicated, and so that is not a negative, that is not a positive thing what he has done. It is not a good intention. He knows that there is a much larger risk now, right? Having known this, it is not correct for him to perform the surgery, and so it is, you can say, not a negative, not a positive thing what he has done. So the result is the same. The external visible result is the same, but the internal intention, the internal, motive, that determines whether it is punyam or papam. Now, punyam is the positive invisible result, and the papam is the negative invisible result. Okay, now punyam and papam, they are famous words in India. Everyone knows them. And so there is a lot of misconception about them. But the reality is that only your intention of action determines whether an action is punyam or papam. And some actions that have no intention, for example, a reflex action, when you sneeze, there's no intention to sneeze, right? You just sneeze, it just happens. The body's reflex is to sneeze. That generates neither punyam nor papam. Okay, so all the superstitions that we keep hearing, you have to now test them against this knowledge before determining whether something is punyam or papam. The intention alone matters. Sometimes we don't know other people's intention. We only know our own intentions. But this is just to help you understand. Now, having gained punyam or papam, what happens? This punyam converts itself into future pleasurable situations. And the papam converts itself into future painful situations. Okay, so they are seeds. They are the potential for future pleasure and pain. They will be stored somewhere It's being tracked and counted by the greatest supercomputer, our Ishvara. Okay. And then one day it will fructify. It will come to, manifest. And that day it may be a favorable situation or a pleasurable situation, or it may not be. It may be something painful. It may be something unfavorable. So that is all based on the action that we have done, which is generated, stored, and eventually comes. Now, if you ask, when does it fructify? How do I know when this punyam or papam will come to fruition? We don't know that. It might be soon or it might be much, much, much later, but there is no way for us to know this. This is for Ishvara's calculation, Ishvara's knowledge only. We don't know this. And if you ask, can punyam and papam cancel each other? In maths, we have positive, negative, cancel, cancel, zero. No. Okay. Punyam and papam both have to be separately experienced. So if you've done something negative and then you do something positive, it's not that they will cancel each other. You will get a positive result also, and you will get a negative result also. Both will come and both have to be experienced. So the only way to exhaust this punyam and papam is by experience alone. The only way to get rid of them is through experiencing them. Okay, so yes, I'll stop here for questions.
Meghaji, it depends. Meghaji,
Yeah.
all this thing is depend upon your intention. What are your intention? The way, like you are doing work, वो किस intention से आप कर रहे हो? So that is punyam and papam.
Yes. The intention alone matters.
Medhaji,
Yes.
so when it comes to prayaschit karma, we are basically trying to, make up for a bad deed that we may have done, intentionally or unintentionally. However, you just mentioned that punyam and papam don't cancel each other out. So what is the point of prayaschit karma then?
The prayaschitta karma will give you the strength to handle negative situation. See, for example, suppose there is a negative, like a papam in the form of a disease. Somebody has to get some disease. Now, that person may be very rich, may be able to afford the best doctors, may be able to, get the best treatment, best hospitals. And because of all that external help, he may have people to take care of him. So, because of all of this external help, he's able to overcome this disease. Now, suppose there is a person who has no such resources. There are people who have no resources that they can die of a common cold also, right? So all of that resources that has come, that is in the form of punyam. So even in that negative situation of disease, he has punyam in the form of resources. So it helps to strengthen yourself or strengthen or, the situation does change. There are a lot of factors. So the disease, you cannot say, I will cancel the disease by doing this prayaschitta karma or something. Disease, what has to come will come. But now I have a lot of support to handle this disease because of the punyam from the prayaschitta karma.
Meghaji, can I give one example?
Sorry?
Meghaji, can I give one example?
Yes.
जब भीष्म पितामह बाणों की सैया पे थे, तो he was recalling कि उन्होंने क्या पाप किए थे. तो उनको कई जन्मों के पहले पाप पता चला. But because of his पुण्यम, उन्होंने अपनी मृत्यु डिसाइड कर दी कि मेरे को इस टाइम पे मरना है. और he was there in front of Lord Krishna, and he died peacefully in front of him by chanting Vishnu's Sahasranam. That is the result of good karma. You cannot undo what you have done. but you can make things easier for yourself to have a better journey.
Yes,
Am
that
I
is
right?
the point of prayaschitta karma. We may not be able to undo, but we can improve the situation through the present actions.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, Amit ji. I can't hear you. Amit ji, are you there? Okay, next. Anyone else?
Oh, Medhaji, you mentioned that punyam and papam are essentially adrashta karma, phalam. So when we reap the rewards of this rewards or whatever negativities of this punyam and papam, so are we talking of only the adrishta karma phalam in that? Like for example, somebody suffering from a disease, but they have a very strong attitude inside. So would that be taken as the effect of punyam there, that they are able to handle it and the severity of the situation does not affect them? So is it more like a samatvam attitude, which is caused by punyam, and the papan would probably cause more agitation?
Yes, punyam can manifest in the form of a strong mind also.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, June.
So when we make actions and they manifest as punyam or papam in the future, but only Ishvara knows when this punyam and papam is given. So if we cannot control when this punyam or papam comes, when we do prayaschita karma, what ensures that the prayaschita karma that we did will be to give us a strength for a specific palam? For example, I did something with a bad intention and I want to do prayaschita karma specifically for that thing. Does it work like that, or is out of our control? We just, how does prayaschita karma works?
You're asking about causation, the cause and effect relationship of specific karmas with their specific phalams. The thing is that we don't know and we can never know.
Okay.
So
when we say that we do prayaschita karma to kind of repair something, we cannot ensure that we are really repairing that thing with that prayaschita karma, right?
no, but you can be sure that the prayaschitta karma does generate punyam.
Okay.
But you don't know when that punyam will fructify.
Okay. Okay.
So you don't know whether it will come for that particular papam that was generated or for at some other point. So it is not for us to know. All of this about punyam and papam is known only because based on what Vedas have told us, only based on what scriptures have revealed to us. So we have to go with what the scripture says. Otherwise, there is no other way for us to know, right? We cannot draw lines and say this one and I can match them like this. We don't have that ability. So we can only go based on what the scripture has said. So scripture has said prayaschitta karma will generate punya. And so we do it to counter the effects, some of the effects of any previous papams.
Oh, Medhaji, sorry to interrupt, but can I ask a question in the same this thing as June asked?
Yes.
If I do a prayaschitta karma with a sankalpa, saying that I am doing this because I did something like this in the past, then also it is not like, it will not negate the karma that I have done, or the papam that got generated from that earlier karma?
No, it will probably buffer because of the sankalpa. It will act as a buffer against whatever future papam has to come, but it will not negate.
Thank you.
Yes. So there's a question in the chat box. Breathing, walking, eating, etc. They're all karma. Do they have phalam? Again, depends on intention. So if it is a reflex action, or if it is an action that has no conscious intention, it will not generate any phalam. But those actions that come with an intention, those only will generate phalam. So you have to decide if you're eating consciously with intention or if you're just absent-mindedly eating. Yes, the punyam and papam are stored, you can say, in the karana shariram. They are associated or attached with karana shariram. Okay, so that's it for today.
I had this question that why it's I feel that karma is stored in all the three shariram. So it's like if you do something, it has a physical mark also, it has a mark in your mind also, and some mark in the causal body also. Is it karma just stored in Karan?
There is a manifestation, of course. See, if you, for example, choose to hurt yourself, you say you cut your hand deliberately out of, say, self-harm. There's a physical mark on the body also, right? But there is also a papam that is generated. So what we are talking about is punyam and papam. When we talk of physical body or subtle body, we are talking about drishta phalam. Here we are not talking about drishta phalam. I'm talking about adrishta phalam, which is an invisible result. When you do something to the body, you hurt the body or you take care of the body, whatever it is, that action has a visible consequence. The visible consequence is seen on the body itself. But we are not talking about the visible consequence at all. We are talking about the adrishta phalam. The name, the word adrishta literally means invisible. You cannot see it. And that invisible portion is stored in Karana Shariram.
Even the whatever mental effects you have, that is also not seen. So that's the part of Sukshma Sharir, no?
Counted as the drishta. It is partially known to us, right?
Yes.
Yes. It may not be seen
Okay.
by your eyes, but that doesn't mean that it is totally unknowable.
Okay. Invisible is like unknowable.
Yes.
Drishtiya gochar, sense, it's
Adrishta means
Indriya gochar.
beyond any kind of perception, not just
Okay, okay.
visible sight, not your eyes alone, but through any way it is beyond perceiving, beyond knowing.
Okay, thank you, madam.
And okay, there's a question. So when you say bad action or good action, you have to define bad or good. Bad or good, they're all subjective words. They're all relative words. What is bad for one person may not be bad for everyone. For some people, drinking tea is a bad thing because it upsets their health. For some people, they need tea. That is how they survive. So we cannot say bad or good action. We can only talk about intention. Intention is about, am I trying to help somebody or am I trying to harm somebody or something? So it is all on intention. So if the question is, suppose you do an action with some negative intention to harm, to hurt, then try to later, do something with a good intention. You realize that, okay, this was a bad thing. I have to correct this. That is nothing but prayashchita karma. That is the whole remedial action that we talk about. So there are, we can say, two kinds of prayashchita karma. One is laukika prayashchita karmas and another is vaidika prayashchita karma. Vaidika are the rituals prescribed by the Vedas, and then there's laukika, which is just general actions, the worldly actions. I do something bad and then I go to somebody and I tell them sorry. That is a laukika prayashrita karma. But if there is a certain homa and yajna, a ritual that I do as described by the scriptures, then that is a Vaidika prayashrita karma. Generally, when we say prayashrita karma, we are talking about Vaidika. When the scriptures talk, they are talking mostly about Vaidika, not so much about Laukika karmas. Okay. So let us stop for today and we will continue with the karma topic next week also. We will see next week the 3 types of karma and their relationship with each other and how it is for the Ajnani and how it is for the Jnani. Okay, so let us conclude with the prayers. Om.
Thank you, Meda.
Thank you, Medaji.
Om Tattva. Thank you so much, Meghnaji.
Thank you, Medaji.